rapid progress, down with those who doubt. To join the causes others join and shout when others shout. Come, you're a man, no passive stone. Stand up and call your soul your own. Go on alone, go on alone. Banish weakness, go on alone. Go on alone, go on alone. Don't look back, just go on alone. Some men lack the daring never to be free. They shun the heights and cloud the depths and court security. Come, you're a man, no passive stone. Stand up and call your soul your own. Go on alone, go on alone. Banish weakness, go on alone. Go on alone, go on alone. Don't look back, just go on alone. Cowards see but pride in singularity. Oh, never mind if men are wrong, so long as they agree. Come, you're a man, no passive stone. Stand up and call your soul your own. Go on alone, go on alone. Banish weakness, go on alone. Go on alone, go on alone. Don't look back, just go on alone. Claim the power within you, ever to defy. The world may change or disappear, but truth can never die. Come, you're a man, no passive stone. Stand up and call your soul your own. Go on alone, go on alone. Banish weakness, go on alone. Go on alone, go on alone. Don't look back, just go on alone.
I'd like to welcome you all to Sunday service at Ananda Village, especially all those who are visiting and guests for the first time or even the second or third time. We're very happy to have you. My name is Nayaswami Parvati, and this is Nayaswami Pranaba. We're happy to share this service with you. I'll be reading from Rays of the One Light, commentaries on the Bible and the Bhagavad Gita, based on Paramhansa Yogananda's teachings and written by Swami Kriyananda. Truth invites, it never commands. Truth is one and eternal. Realize oneness with it in your deathless self within. The following commentary is based on the teachings of Paramhansa Yogananda. Free will is a basic principle of life. God never coerces. He invites us to live in such a way that we find fulfillment in ourselves. If we refuse to live rightly, Paramhansa Yogananda taught, God simply says, I will wait. We have eternity to live. In that eternity, we live as we choose, in self-created darkness, a darkness as intense and as long-lasting as we choose, or in the infinite light, the true self which is God. Jesus Christ in the Beatitudes offered a beautiful example of God's way of inviting mankind to seek perfection, not by commanding, but by offering his human children the incentive they need to choose the right of their own volition. Blessed are the poor in spirit, Jesus said, for theirs is the kingdom of heaven. Blessed are the meek, for they shall inherit the earth. Blessed are the merciful, for they shall obtain mercy. Blessed are the pure in heart, for they shall see God. In each of the Beatitudes, Jesus explains the blessing attendant upon observing it. The divine way, similarly, for each of us, is not to do violence to our own natures. Spirituality must be attained naturally. It can never be attained by force. The Bhagavad Gita says in the 3rd chapter, "Even the wise behave in accordance with nature as it is manifested in them. Of what avail, then, is suppression?" The scripture then goes on, however, to explain that this doesn't mean we should surrender to the dictates of our lower nature. Rather, it emphasizes our need to aspire to the heights, but each of us in accordance with his own nature and not in imitation of anyone else's, offering ourselves up for purification by divine grace. Desire, whatever form it takes, so the Bhagavad Gita explains, should be resisted even if only mentally. Attachment and repulsion to sense objects, both of these are universally rooted. No one should accept their influence, for verily they are man's enemies. Thus, through Holy Scripture, God has spoken to mankind. Om, Om, Om.
Good morning, everyone. This is a reading taken from Whispers from Eternity, Paramahansa Yogananda's book of poetic prayers. Demand for union with the Almighty. O Father, behold me through the pores of the sky. Smile at me through the twinkling stars. Strengthen me through the sun. Calm my feelings through the moon. Caress me through the breeze. Love me through my love. Throb in me through my heart. Breathe thine immortality through this mortal frame of mine. Speak through my voice. Help others through my hands. Use my mind to inspire them. Breathe through my breath. For within this fragile viol, thou alone canst sing thy complete eternal song. Everybody, including all of us here, are seeking fulfillment in one way or the other. And there are infinite ways that people actually seek it. It may come through coming to a weekend at the Expanding Light for How to Be Happy, which some of you are here for. But it can come through many, many different venues. And unfortunately, many of them go in the wrong direction because we're not really feeling what is the essence of what brings fulfillment. And so the whole life that we're given is to explore more and more what that is. And most of us feel a great resistance against demands or commands to do so. And that's actually pretty healthy to have that perspective. We need to find it on our own and really grow in that way. But we can really almost lose sight of what's really going on by the busyness and the influence of so many things around us. But ultimately, our destiny is for our fulfillment. A few weeks ago, we were having dinner with Anandi and Bharat, dear friends here at Ananda Village, and we were out first in their outdoor patio, and they have a large rock in the area, and we noticed that there was a little pine tree growing out from a crack in this huge rock. And it didn't seem like it fit. It just seemed impossible that that would be there. But like us, whatever obstacles there are, whatever barriers or sheaths of delusion, the soul call within, that yearning of our true nature, will come forth. In the Yoga Sutras, the very second sutra defines what yoga is about, and it's very simply put by Patanjali, the great sage that brought the sutras together, that yoga is the neutralization of the vrittis or the whirlpools or the fluctuations of feeling. He's not saying it's the neutralization of feeling, but rather the fluctuation, the likes and dislikes of feeling that keep us always super engaged outwardly. So that's yoga. Yoga is the neutralization of those fluctuations, those whirlpools. And then the third sutra is very short as well, and it says, then he, being the true self, abides in its own true nature. That's it. That's all yoga is really about. It's very simple in those very two sutras, that they contain the essence of what we're doing and where we're going in life. But it's easy, as I said, to be lost in the delusion of life. I remember hearing the story, or reading a story, that this priest in a small town was going for a walk during the evening, and he went by the local pub, and he saw through the windows a lot of his church members. So he thought, I'm going to go in there and get them. So he walks in and he says, okay, you see this line on the floorboards here? If you want to go to heaven, you cross this line. And so almost everyone crossed the line except for this one guy. And the priest says, are you meaning to say that you don't want to go to heaven when you die? And the man said, oh, sure, I thought you meant now. And even the great Saint Augustine is known for one of his quotes that are similar to that. Make me holy and divine, but wait it some time, Lord. And there is that part of us, no matter what our intention can be at that time, at any time, there's still that ego part of us that will say, well, but I don't really need to meditate right now. I don't really need to do this, do I? Can I have this instead? And almost a lot of things just sweep in before we know it. It's sort of like if you've ever been by the ocean a lot, you know what's known as sneaker waves. And I remember reading about, there's a great surfing competition that happens off of Half Moon Bay, south of San Francisco in the Pacific Ocean. And it's called Mavericks, and they're huge waves. And they try to have a competition every year if the waves are bigger than 30 feet high. That's the minimum. If you ever look up 30 feet, it's high. But anyways, and a lot of people come to watch, and they set up scaffolding to film this and photograph it. And a sneaker wave came and washed out everybody on the shore. It just came up in an instant. That's sort of like what delusion is when we think, hey, everything is fine. It'll work out. Well, it will work out if we're in the experience of being in the inner self. But if we're out there on our periphery, the sneaker waves will come time and time and again. And fortunately, they have their purpose. They wear us out. They beat us up enough where we say, that's enough. Something else has to happen. And that's what we're really doing at this point when we come together in a place like this and really say, there's got to be something that produces the real happiness, the real fulfillment of my life. And one of the ways that we really can see this is that we allow ourselves to be where our soul is calling us. Meaning that, what is it that really opens up that experience for us? Well, one of the ways is satsang. Satsang meaning the company of God with other truth seekers. And one of the ways that for many of us of Ananda have really felt this in a very deep way is through Swami Kriyananda. Now, Swami Kriyananda today is talking at this very point in Los Angeles. It's the spiritual anniversary of his coming to Yogananda after taking a 4-day bus trip from New York City to Los Angeles and going to the Hollywood Church. And after the church service being over, waiting for his time to have an interview with Paramahansa Yogananda. And with the very first words to Master, he says, of course, I want to be your disciple. And today is that celebration, 62 years later. And it was on a Sunday, he said, because Sunday service had happened and everyone had gone by the time he'd gotten to the Hollywood Church. But it's very interesting because Swami Kriyananda is definitely worthy of praise, but it really isn't the point. really what the point is, the principles that he has lived his life with and for become the shining light to take us out of any darkness. And the two primary things that he often has talked about, that he really has emphasized and wanted to be with others with, are one, his discipleship to a true guru, Paramahansa Yogananda, and secondly, as a friend to everyone, a divine friend. And in that divine friendship, he has held aloft really how we can not only be inspired, but in practical terms go forward and really live our lives more completely. But in that discipleship rings true for everybody, whether you've walked in the door with Ananda today or you've been involved for 40 years or more. That discipleship isn't, again, a command from God, but an invitation. You know, again in the Yoga Sutras, Patanjali, the great sage, goes on to list out the Ashtanga Yoga, the 8 limbs of yoga. And the first 2 limbs are the yamas and niyamas. Now, it's very interesting that the way that Yogananda and Swami Kriyananda have given us the emphasis of understanding Patanjali in the Yoga Sutras, they make the point that the yamas and niyamas, which are qualities, the yamas are the things that we need to release, and the niyamas are the things that we need to observe. There's 5 of each. But the emphasis that this path has given them, tuning into Patanjali at its deepest level, they're not descriptions of what we need to do, which is commonly how they're interpreted. For instance, nonviolence. That it's not an emphasis of being nonviolent. That is, what's happening there is a description with these qualities of what takes place in the devotee, what unfolds for us as we grow spiritually. So it's saying it's a roadmap. Now, of course, being intelligent human beings, we can then therefore transfer that understanding, that's where we're going, to emphasizing it more as a tool. But it is interesting that it's laid out more in terms of description of what unfolds for us. And that's important because we're not needing to create these things. Yesterday, I think most people understand 9/11, what that day represents for the world. You know, and many people did various things to remember what happened yesterday in Manhattan that time in 2001. But the real point of any of this is not to remember something as the focal point of the outward things, but to remember who we really are in that experience. Who are we in that soul call? And so we start to understand the qualities of nonviolence, the qualities of contentment, the quality of being non-sensuous, the quality of being devotional to God. Those are our true nature, well hidden. You know, sort of like that sapling of that pine tree coming out of that crack in this boulder. Doesn't seem like it's possible. How could that happen? But you see that a lot in areas where the concrete sidewalks have, been let to go on their own, and you see the grass, and you see the little things come up and start to crack the sidewalk. Or if you've ever been to a Japanese garden, you know this image well, that often in a Japanese garden they have this bamboo water funnel where it drops one drop at a time on a granite boulder. And if the park's been around a long time, you see what's happening. Is that granite, which is one of the toughest stones in the mineral world, is eroded by drop, bringing that fulfillment of the water's power over that rock. But like us, it's not that the water is changing the rock. The symbiotic relationship just is changing. And one is more prevalent than the other. But all of it is there. And for us, we're there always in that soul quality, that soul call of our true divine nature. And what a satsang with someone like Swami Kriyananda provides is not only a model, but the principles involved of living a life more with God. I know years ago, I think it was in 1996, that I was with Swami. And again, many of us being feeling close to Swami Kriyananda, call him Swami or Swamiji, just as we call Yogananda being close to a master. It's more of a familiar term. So I'll continue saying those words, master and Swami. But I was with Swami, it was just the two of us. We were in Denver for the first of the annual New Age Metaphysical Expos, and he was a keynote speaker. And I spent a fair amount of time just with him one-to-one, getting him ready and doing things with him and getting him to the event and all that. And it was at the heart of the lawsuit from Self-Realization Fellowship against Ananda and against Swami Kriyananda. And I was, of course, in the beginning curious to see who he really was in this setting when the pressure was on and he didn't have to have his guard up because there was only me there. Well, he was no different. He's never any different than who he always is. Come tests or non-tests, come this or that, come this situation, whatever. Swami Kriyananda remains who he is in that experience of the divine. And what he's always done for us is the second part of the divine friendship. He's always invited, offered the openness of his own heart to draw any that are willing to come into that experience. Well, sometimes he also has to act strongly. And many of us here in this room perhaps have read his most recent book that was just published online 2 days ago, called Rescuing Yogananda. It's a very powerful book, and the underlying foundation of it is that Yogananda, through his own organization that he founded, Self-Realization Fellowship, has gone off on a tangent and not really reflected and expressed the real depth and width of what Yogananda came to bring. That Yogananda was truly an avatar both of love and of bliss. And the deep compassion that Yogananda brought is something that Swami Kriyananda feels is important to really refresh, renew at this time. But I can tell you, there's going to be a lot of flack that's going to happen from him writing this book and getting out there. But he's done it with Dharma, and he's done it with respect, saying very difficult things. And I thought, that's an amazing thing to have in our lifetime. Someone that's willing to express something clearly that's going to have opposition, and maybe strong, strong opposition, but willing from his heart and always referring to his attunement to his guru, Paramahansa Yogananda, to bring Master's blessings even when the challenges are this way. That's unbelievable. For all of us, and again, I'm not saying this to heap praise on Swami Kriyananda because that wouldn't be worthwhile. He doesn't need that. What it does is really gives us the possibility, the power, the strength, the courage, and the willingness to invite divine presence just as he has. And so it's not only that God invites and doesn't command, but we need to invite. We need to open that experience. We need to live in that experience completely. But being with Swami in Denver, I remember certain things came up, and we had a luncheon meeting with a woman who was the president of the National, or the New Age Publishing Retail Association, which was a big organization at that time. And there was just the three of us for lunch. And Swami openly discussed what was happening with this lawsuit and the accusations hurled at him. He wasn't deflecting them and saying he was pure. He was just saying this is what it was. And it was more powerful in him being who he was in that way with this person than anything that could have happened, because he was just himself. He was just clearly that disciple in divine friendship with someone also reaching out to their full potential. The challenge for us is to be likewise, to not only be inspired, but to be inspiring. Not only to draw friendship, but to offer a friendship. Not only to look for our guru, but to be the disciple that's worthy to be that channel for the guru. I don't mean that with pressure. that we have to live up to something, but more in our heart of hearts, because we're bound to stumble. We're bound to misstep where we're going along the journey until we become liberated as Jivan Muktas. So we're bound to stumble in one way or the other. But the challenge then is, in our discipleship, whether we've taken formal discipleship or we're again walking in the door for the first time, that we're opening ourselves to that grace from the divine. We're offering ourselves into the grace of the divine. And in that synthesis of those experiences and of those values in our lives, then we, as they say, walk the talk. We become that as well. Because the goal is not to just live our humble little life, but to live our humble life gloriously in God's presence. I remember reading years ago a wonderful article by David Frawley, who is one of the most respected Ayurvedic and Vedic astrology teachers in the world. He's a Westerner. And he wrote this article on, I think, the missing guru or something like that. But he makes this very important point. He said, it's not so much about finding the perfect guru. It's about being the perfect disciple. Because God will bring us to our guru. God will allow the guru to come to us when we're ready. The point is our readiness. And Swami Kriyananda in his life, and even more than all that he's done, which is incredible, and again, praiseworthy, but more than that, who he is in his essence, reflecting that offering of himself, always referring everything back to Master, always living in that, in every breath as much as he can. That is really the joy of what we celebrate today in conjunction with Swamiji. And for all of us, if we can then carry forth from this day not only the remembrance of someone like Swami Kriyananda and his loyalty to his great guru, Yogananda, but for each one of us, again, wherever we are at personally, to take that step of drawing the presence of the divine and offering ourselves completely into that experience. Then we will be truly happy and we will have fulfillment. Let's take a moment to meditate.
Blessed